Hello and welcome back to Warcraft Daily for today, the 23rd of November 2013. So it's a Saturday, and that pretty much always means the news will be a little bit shorter. Things we have to talk about are the in-game store, which has had a bit of a revamp, Pilgrims bounty, and then we'll finally round it off with some tweets. Now, the in-game store, well, first of all, this is not really something that's confirmed to be coming to the Western territories. Right now, it's only the Korean servers, and it's essentially some in-game microtransaction kind of thingies. And I will cut into some in-game footage and explain to you what's going on. Okay, so here we are on the PTR, and well, look at this new icon that you do not have in your current client. Now this used to be, like this whole in-game client store thing, it used to be in the 5.4 PTR for Korea, but it's had a little bit of a revamp. Right now all you can buy is this Elixir of Enduring Wisdom, and these cost, is that, yeah, 2.38 XTS, which seems to be some sort of test currency. So let's buy one. It says connecting to the shop. Payment failed. Do not have a valid payment method. Interesting. That's bizarre because, more info? Oh wow, it just took me to battle.net. Well, essentially, there you go. What happens when you click on these is that it says, connecting, and then it goes onto the store, authenticates, then you get one of these elixirs in your bag, and what the elixir does is, yes, here we go, I have one from my previous testing. It gives you experience gain from killing monsters and doing quests boost by 100%. That's quite large, actually. And the other thing they were selling at the time, which doesn't appear to be there now, is the Bulging Bag of Charms. So let's click on that, and yeah, we get 50 lesser charms of good fortune. So there you go, that's the kind of thing they're doing with the store. I can't use this because I'm max level. But yeah, I don't know, it's interesting, this whole store thing. It's like an off user interface, I suppose. Now, the one thing that's worth mentioning is that when you actually look at some of the icons and things that have been added, there's stuff that includes gear and loads of different things, but here's what's worth saying. They are, like, selling gear and stuff like that is a routine thing in Asian MMOs, and they said that buying power would never ever be a part. When I say buying power, buying any max level gear or just any stuff like that is never going to be a part of World of Warcraft in the West. The only things that they were really considering were an XP boost and then the lesser charms. The XP boost I'm a little bit against. I don't think that's a great idea, but with this whole level 90 boost thing, just being a thing in general in Warlords of Draenor, perhaps that's okay. Or not, perhaps that's okay, I mean perhaps it wouldn't happen because there's already a replacement in Warlords. As for the lesser charms, once again, that's just paying to skip out on gameplay, so I'm not happy with it, but yeah, anyway, let's jump back to the main video. Okay, so we're back from the game stuff, and that's really all I have to say about that. Now let's move on to Pilgrim's Bounty. It's the next thing, and it's the Thanksgiving holiday. I probably won't be doing a guide on this because there's just so much information that's already freely available, and honestly I don't have the time. But yeah, if you're American, that's relevant to you, or something like that. Now let's move on to tweets, which is really where we will be spending the majority of today's show. So there was an interesting tweet about tanks having less of a reason to gear up and play because their gear isn't really as good as, say, DPS gear for the rest of the game. And Ghostcrawler said that the tanks are quite great at quests, and, well, yeah, tanks are good at quests, but they're not great. They're not as great as someone who's in full-on DPS gear. And I do kind of see the point of the original poster there. I think that with Warlords of Draenor swapping out your primary stats based on your spec, though, it could mean that this is less of a problem. Because you will have a full set of plate, that will probably swap around from giving you stamina to strength, or something like that. Basically so that if you are in a tank spec, and then you switch over to your DPS spec, while your gear, your sort of whole item set won't be perfectly itemized, you will at least have more damage dealing stats to make you a little bit more viable. I think that this new system, the way they're doing things in Warlords of Draenor, should do quite a good job of, I suppose, just opening it up so that if you're like a healer, then maybe if you're priest, you can just switch over to Shadow, and you'll be a little bit more effective than you will be if you were to do that today. It's at the stage where, like, some people have so much spirit, they never run out of mana. The problem is they do no damn damage. So yeah, stuff like that could hopefully be fixed by a system like that. Now, also on the topic of threat, they said that it wasn't fun for anyone other than the tank, and that it was just a throttle on the DPS players. I don't really know if I disagree. First of all, it means tanking's easier. That's just true. Because you don't have to worry about threat. It's an entire mechanic that they essentially stripped out. Threat used to be a thing where you really, you had to manage it, you had to use your threat gaining abilities, and it did add a lot more depth to tank gameplay, let's be honest. Anytime I tank at the, nowadays, yeah, it's boring to me. One of the only fun things is tanking and taking, pulling a lot of mobs or trying to tank quickly. Of course, paying attention to the rest of the group and making sure that it's within a pace that's comfortable for them. But yeah, I think tanking maybe in the long run, perhaps it lost out a little bit from that whole threat thing. It used to be also as a DPS player, a mark of a good DPS was you were able to also play as a team and not over-threat. As a hunter, we would be misdirecting to tanks, and I think that it did add quite a lot of gameplay there, and it was sort of interesting gameplay. There was interaction between players. That's definitely been lost. Whether that's for the good or the bad, on the whole, I'm not really sure. That's probably one for the people who main tank to have a discussion about. But honestly, as a hunter, I didn't mind having to watch my threat, because it meant that I could do things like I could feign death, and I could misdirect, and I could in general use more of my class's abilities in a way that would differentiate me from those hunters that didn't, and that made it more fun, I suppose. Now also they said that they feel the base focus regen was too high for hunters. This is a problem that's actually been fixed, not in that they've increased or decreased the base focus regen, but they've made Arcane Shot, which is one of the staples, they've made it more expensive, which means that playing a hunter is a little bit more decisive. It used to be with focus that at high gear levels, it didn't really matter what button you press because you regen, you got your focus back so quickly. Definitely a very different system to mana. Overall, I'm happy enough with Focus, though. And that's really it for tweets. I mean, as you can see, not the biggest news day, so yeah, there you go. If you have any comments or anything like that, leave them in the comment box. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.